Hello, I'm Rover, and you're about to listen to a chapter of the audio version of my book, The Moongazers, a pirate queer adventure story. This is a 30-chapter series. Are you enjoying this project, and would you like to support me? You can do that by becoming a patron or buy me a coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. Enjoy! Chapter 10 Frey. Over the last couple of weeks, my routine on the ship hasn't changed much. Except there is no party every night, and I haven't made a habit of holding knives to people's throats. Kathy, Layla, and Deva are training with me now. Kathy works the hardest. She doesn't stop her exercises until she really can't move a muscle anymore. She reminds me of myself when I lived on the base, always challenging herself and pushing her limits, wanting to learn everything. Layla, who's quite strong already, focuses more on sparring. Deva is clearly one of the fittest and best trained people on board. Her fighting technique is fine, but she isn't always mean enough. Luckily, I can teach her that. After our training routine, we have breakfast, and then we train the rest of the ship, or rather, those who want to. During my first weeks, our classes were heavily attended, but soon enough the group started thinning out, and now we're left with a small group. After the training session, Layla and Kathy go off to do other things, and Deva and I get to work on our tasks. The more time we share, the more we talk. Deva is pretty talkative, but slightly more pragmatic, more serious, and more idealistic than Layla. When Layla joins, Deva suddenly turns unstoppably playful. They joke around, throw water at each other, climb on each other's backs, and steal each other's food. When they're like that, I can't help but look around, embarrassed, to see if people are watching. Sometimes it feels like these people don't take their mission seriously at all, but they do attend their training and show some progress in their skills. Some even stay a bit longer for a round of sparring with Deva and me, or to learn something extra. After lunch, Deva and I apply ourselves to the maintenance crew, checking and repairing the firearms that we find on board, like Yara's rifle, which she had apparently lifted from a museum. It was a big hassle, but in the end we got it functioning, and Yara even turned out to have a box of ammunition lying around. After dinner, the ship bustles with activity. Some people sit down to chat with each other or play a game, others continue working, and some play music. The routine, the close contact, and almost always having something to do gives me the feeling of being accepted. But in the evenings, I suffer from the lack of distraction, and I think about Ray. I miss and worry about them. Knowing Ray, they've probably built some ingenious shelter in the forest by now. But I know how lonely they get, and how much they hate being alone. Yesterday, for the first time, I visited a plenary meeting. Kathy is our representative this week, and she invited me so I could learn more about the decision-making process on the ship. The weekly meeting was attended by the weekly representatives, who were allowed to bring along circle members. The circle members weren't allowed to speak, but sometimes would pass notes to their representatives. People sat there listening, doing some handicraft in the meantime. It all looked pretty easygoing. I learned after dinner from Deva that having meetings with everybody present had been too chaotic, and there had been too much talking. Meaning, meetings had taken even longer before. Geez. Now the circles have to discuss everything before and after the plenary meeting, and if someone is completely opposed to a decision, it goes back to the plenary to be revised. But that doesn't happen too often, Deva says. But seriously, the meeting took forever. I sat on an uncomfortable little stool for hours. They started off talking about feelings and conflicts, of course. Each representative briefed the others about how things were going in their respective circles. Kathy talked about ours, that it had been a bit hectic with a new member, but the group had gained stability. Then conflicts were put on the table. The tech circle wanted to have breakfast later because they stayed up longer at night. But the cooks didn't want to extend their shift. Both parties explained their position and then had to come up with reasonable suggestions until they reached whatever they called a consensus. Basically, a lot of talking resulted into a solution. The cooks would leave something for the tech crew to heat up so they wouldn't have to wait for them. I just thought to myself that had there been a boss, they could have decided this straight away, and it would have saved us half an hour of our time. At Torben's, no one got food outside the mixed meal times. Too bad whoever arrived late. After the conflict, we moved to the regular agenda, which included several items. Kathy brought up our plan for the drilling platform mission and gave an update about the project I'm working on, patching up an old cannon. Yara and Jude brought up an item about the oil trade on the drilling platform and what they hoped to get for the oil. Where I thought we'd have a vote, there was a discussion. Proposals were made and modified until everybody was happy with it. The inefficiency. I couldn't imagine the city these people live in and the meetings they must have there. How did they ever get anything done? I found it a tiring system. But of course, Deva had some abstract philosophical explanation about why the new world should be built on confidence and solidarity. A world in which we get to have our say about how to do things together, whether that be on a ship, on a circle, or in a city. She claims that by having everyone join in the conversation and decision-making processes, we can take decisions that benefit the collective instead of some individuals. She has a habit of going on such philosophical rants about the future, and once she starts off on one of those, she rarely stops. But her passion is electric. And it's not that I don't get what she's saying, but to me, it seems like a very complex way of looking at the world. Why add all kinds of moral dilemmas when we're busy enough as it is, just trying to survive? Plus, I wonder about the time of it all. Is there really time for all of this, especially in a crisis? When I complained about the length of the meeting, Leila didn't respond with some ideological discourse, but just said, "We take our time talking through these things because we care. It's our way of exercising power collectively, of determining our course together. If we left this up to a single person or let go of it altogether, we'd give up our power. We have long meetings because we have passion, love, and a hope for the future. If our meetings were short, it would mean we're not involved. And once we stop caring about what happens, that's when everything really gets lost or frustrated." After the meeting, it dawned on me that Deva was not my commanding officer. When I asked for orders, Leila couldn't keep together and burst out laughing. She did a playful imitation of me, in which she put on a serious face, stood up straight, and with a dry, mocking voice said, "Deva, tell me what to do today." I turned a little red, but it was clear to me that my understanding had been a little off before. Similarly, Captain Jude was in command of sailing, and because of that, she was literally the captain. That is to say, she's not the boss. She's just the main person responsible for the ship and its navigation, and she represents the ship towards any outsiders. However, she's not the mission's executive in any way. To think I held a knife to her throat, thinking she was the only person who could provide me with answers. I shake my head. So, I've learned a lot in these couple of weeks that I've lived on this ship amongst these strange people. And the more I learn from them, the less I understand them. Or, no matter how much they explain how they go about things, it remains a little odd to me. Today, something new is happening. The 4 of us are all in the captain's cabin, which apparently isn't called that. It's called the small meeting room. Makes sense. It's the room we use for our circle meetings. Doesn't make sense, because it's still the room the captain can be found in most of the time. Maybe she has a lot of meetings with herself. Over the last few days, we've worked out a plan that we'll go over one more time today, before it's finally put into action. Today is the day we've been looking forward to for the past weeks. We're going to the drilling platform to trade with Captain Ardy. For me, it's mostly an opportunity to finally send my letters to Ray and Tyra. Drilling platforms at sea are considered neutral terrain, so they're preferred locations for negotiations and trading meetings. The Wyckoff has taken oil from the SS Opal and now wants to trade that with Ardy, who's the captain of a ship that clears containers from the sea and is always up for trading valuable material. In the plenary meeting, Jude has gotten a mandate to sell the oil to others as well, but only if they will use it for the good of people or the planet. The captain we're supposed to meet is an acquaintance of Jude's, and the meeting was set up a long time ago. But, as things go, you never know if he'll show, or arrive late, or is already there. In the captain's hut, we go over the final details and prepare for our mission. Everyone seems confident in the plan. Kathy is carrying a big backpack, and I have a small one with the bare necessities in case Jude, Kathy, and I get stuck on the platform. I've put all my knives in their places, and I'm taking a gun with me too. Together, we go to the hold, where everyone is changing clothes. The entire crew puts on more masculine look. Long hair disappears under hats. Some even smear some soot on their faces to create the impression of stubble. We don't know who might be on board Captain Ardy's ship, but in the best case, they'd just take a look at us and consider us a normal crew. Well, we try what we can to create that impression, that is. We're standing beside our hammocks already, watching the rest prep. Someone uses a pillow and rope to simulate large biceps under her clothes, and great hilarity ensues. These people just seem unable to take anything seriously. Everything is a joke, I sigh to Deva. Let them have their laughs, Layla responds. What else is life about? Who knows? If all this goes wrong, this might be their last moment of joy. I roll my eyes. Of course, Madame Poppy would step in to defend them. Within a couple of hours, Jude, Kathy, and I are on our way. Jude and Kathy are rowing the ship's small boat towards the drilling platform. A big steel construction towering over us. Ugly. I wonder how many centuries it will take for it to rust away. It is afternoon, and a weak sun keeps us company. The iron box that is Captain Ardy's ship is floating on the other side of the platform. It is a motorboat with improvised sails. Frankly, it looks like the captain hadn't wanted to exchange it for an actual sailing boat and instead decided to doctor his own adjustments. We're not far from the shore here. I asked Jude whether they would drop me off here, but she said she wouldn't recommend it. The cliffs are high, the region is hardly known and barely populated, Walking or riding to Melshaven from here would take much longer than from Propolis, and I would have to cross another sea. What I've learned to appreciate about Jude is that she lets me make my own decisions, but gives me the facts as they are. First, I have thought she might lie to me, but throughout my time here, I haven't caught anyone on a lie, so I've come to believe her. We dock our boat and start climbing the rungs of one of the platform legs. The climb is high, but not as high as the SS Opal, and Kathy moves without a moment of fear. When the weather is calm, I've been making her climb to the crow's nest twice a day. Starting out, she was slow, but now, 2 weeks later, she has become more agile. I feel a surge of pride looking back at her climb now. I swing myself over the railing and find there's a man already standing there. He must be about 50 years old. He's not very tall. His face is tanned, and brown curls peek out from under his blue hat. He has a golden earring and wears black, slightly smudgy work clothes. It looks like he's unarmed. I keep my eyes on him, watch his moves, and stay close to the railing, silently, menacingly. This might not be Artie. This could be anyone. Beside me, Kathy climbs over the railing and is followed by Jude. Jude's face lights up when she sees the man, who I now learn is Artie. She makes her way across the railing and practically throws herself into the man's arms. I watch in horror as the two of them laugh and hug each other. Had the man had a knife, she could have easily been dead. But here they are, grinning wildly and thumping each other on the back. Kathy looks at me with a grin, but I refuse to return her smile. How can I keep Jude safe if she acts like this? There you are! And what that you arrived on? What a ship! You're gonna have to tell me everything, Artie exclaims. He's an energetic man who speaks with his hands. Introduce me to your friends. That one over there doesn't look too cheerful. Jude grins. Oh, Frey? Ach, she's a real ray of sunshine. Artie points at the small building on the platform deck and indicates we should follow him there. Kathy wriggles about nervously and Jude looks at her briefly. Kathy is looking for useful stuff, Jude says to Artie. Do you mind if she has a look around? Artie looks at her. The platform is yours as much as mine, Jude. All my crew members are on board my ship, but if you find something valuable and are willing to share, let me know. Kathy darts off. I walk to the platform railing and I wave twice to the Wyckoff, relieved to know that Artie is the only one present here. Layla waves back twice, so that I know she's seen me and that everything is fine. I quickly move a few steps away from Jude, who's walking to the building with Artie. The little structure, that once was white, is now mossy green. The door squeaks open. I want to be the first to enter, to make sure it's safe. But without the least caution, Jude and Artie have already briskly stomped in. Artie blunders about in the dark until he manages to open the blinds and daylight erupts in the room. This was probably the place where workers used to have their lunch. A simple table, some chairs of metal and white plastic, and a small metal countertop with a grimy white cupboard decorate the room. There's even an old microwave on the countertop. In the corner, there's a brown leather sofa, still in decent shape, with a small table in front of it. Artie lets himself sink into the sofa and invites Jude to do the same. They look at each other, make noises of enthusiasm, and fall into each other's arms again. I'm definitely bringing this up with Jude once we're back on board. How can I protect her if she just throws herself into the arm of a potential enemy? What if Artie is no longer the man Jude thinks he is? What if something changed? I might be imagining things, but just the thought of getting off this platform without having been able to keep Jude safe makes me nervous. I sit down on a table and watch the scene attentively. Girl, we did it! I really thought we wouldn't make it. Everything was falling apart and I had to dismantle a ship so I could repair this one and make the trip here. Jude shakes her head and laughs. Yeah, buy a boat, work a load, my dad used to say. He did indeed, Artie says with a wink. That reminds me. He makes a sudden move towards his bag. I jump up, ready to intervene in case he takes out a weapon. Artie looks up and points at me as he's groping around in the bag. A ray of sunshine, you said? She could really use something to loosen up, he exclaims, turning up his nose. What can I say? Frey takes my safety very seriously. And let me guess, you got exactly what you think she needs in that bag of yours? Yes, ma'am, I do, he says triumphantly, holding up some cups and a bottle of transparent liquid. He has filled the 3 cups to the brim in a blink of an eye, and before I know it, the 2 of them have toasted and downed the mysterious booze. I'm about to intervene. I want to smack the cup from her hands. What if she discloses information, does something she might regret later? But to make a move as drastic as that and disturb the moment she's having, she might never look at me again. Drink up, you could use some, the man winks at me. I ignore his words and look at him coldly. I think Frey doesn't appreciate your attention, Artie. Just let her be, Jude says. He shrugs and pours another glass for himself and my captain. To your parents, Artie says, as both of them lift their cups and take another shot. So, Artie, you're still in the container business, Jude says while making herself more comfortable on the sofa. Business is booming. Sometimes I break them open, they're empty. Sometimes I break them open, bam, jackpot. I move it, sell it off. Either way, people dig deep into their pockets for my stuff. It doesn't surprise me, Jude says. I almost lost my ship on one of those. I could barely maneuver out of its way. I would sleep a whole lot better if the things would just be gone. Nah, they're not gonna be gone. Not with the number of ships that have sunk. But I found out it's a lot more lucrative to move them. He leans back comfortably on the sofa. There's a twinkle in his eyes. Jude looks at him in surprise. Move them? I thought you were in the protect the water, clean up the sea phase. Ach, I have to eat, you know. Doing boat maintenance ain't so easy these days, and you can't live on morals alone. So where do you move them to? Where the wealthy patron wants. Look, some of these big shots in the north discovered that there are a bunch of functional boats around, and they started using them to ship goods. Some of them already have captains and people who know how to sail, which is useful because more ships at the bottom of the ocean won't do anyone any good. Anyway, these guys are playing at who's the boss of the sea, so they do whatever they can to keep their monopoly and make sure no one comes into their area, getting their stuff. And that's where I come in. What I do is schlep heavy, bulky objects to inconvenient spots in specific passages. Jude laughs and grins at Artie. You're saying you move those containers so that you'll wreck other ships? Ugh, a bag of gold here, a bag of gold there. Sometimes they pay me to move them out of the way. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't help them sabotage any communes or stuff like that. They can risk their own lives for that. That's my Artie. There's still some principles to be found in you. He pours another round. I watch them, disheartened. I feel pretty useless now, and my thoughts wander to Kathy, who's off exploring. I just hope the man was right, that no one else is here. What about you, Jude? What's up with that ship? How the hell did you get your hands on her? I know you used to sail ships like that, but a little smaller. Jude grins. Take a guess. I don't know, girl. Did you bribe someone? Hard to believe you built it yourself. It's a replica of an old trade ship. I traveled to a museum with a small core crew and stole it straight from the city's port. She starts laughing loudly, which makes me look up for a second. Those people, Artie, you would have loved it. Obviously, I made sure there were no other boats around, so that no one could follow us. We just sailed off with it in broad daylight. No one could do anything about it. Artie laughs along. Bold move, kiddo, he says with a pleased look on his face. Good to see you again, Artie, Jude says after 3 more glasses of liquor. They've reached a deal about the oil by now. Artie will pay a bag of gold and has offered to move some containers to a spot Jude has specified. By now, she had double vision and needed my help to locate the place on the map. I had marked it with a cross, using my nails, because I have some doubts Artie would remember everything about this evening. Kathy also slinks in and is sitting next to me. Jude and Artie are in their own world. They sing songs, sometimes keep quiet for minutes and just say, "So good to see you. So happy you're alive. You too, Jude. Don't you die on me." Then Artie starts blabbing about Jude's parents, how much he'd loved them, the wonderful trip they made to the North Pole, his memories of Jude as a little girl. Ah, I miss them every day, Jude. Why is the sea so unforgiving? He's almost in tears, and she gives him a drunken hug. I wriggle uneasy at the realization that Jude's parents, too, died at sea. Thankfully, you are continuing their noble work, Artie, Jude says emotionally. I try, but times have changed. Then, suddenly, he stiffens, looks at Jude and says seriously, as if all the alcohol has instantly evaporated from his blood. Don't you go and do anything stupid now, will you? Things are moving in the north. Some of the cities are uniting with Brekersand in the lead, and they want to get everything back working. Rumor is they're building new coal-powered factories, some 19th century bullshit. They even say they're working on a steam train. Agriculture is bad. Entire areas flooded, others too arid. Couple of years ago, we had all the forest fires, and now with the storms, people are losing hope. Jude just looks at him. It won't take long before the cities unite and start forming some kind of state. And it won't be the so happy together kind of united, Jude. Someone with your skills should stay far, far away from all of that. Before you know it, you'll have a gun against your head and end up transporting workers from city to city or some other horrible thing. Jude tries to nod. I've heard the rumors, Artie. Don't worry. He gets irritatingly close to her. I know there are some safe places, probably down south, where less is left from before the Great Change, Artie says. Jude just nods and stares into space with glassy eyes. Stay in the south, Jude, and try to build a life for yourself, he says melancholically. I don't know where you live when you're not on that ship, but if you found a place you love, protect it, because it won't be forever. Stop being so serious, man. I appreciate your concern, Artie, but look, I'm a well-protected woman. She points in between Kathy and me. He nods and falls silent. We're left with no other option than to spend the night here, since Jude won't make the climb down to the boat without going overboard. Apparently, she thinks the same, because she's already asleep on the sofa. Artie pushes his head over his eyes, leans back, and with his nose pointing up, falls fast asleep.
Living in a plastic paradise, greasing our palms with the fat of the land. White furry animals come to take us away, but the cracks and the seams show it's all just make-believe. Is this all that we are? Is this all that we care for? One of us gets to live, one of theirs has to die. Is this all that we have? Is this all we can spare? As their blood and their bones makes our wine and our chairs. Scorched dark earth is what's left in our blood. Scorched dark earth is what's left in our blood. Scorched dark earth is what's left in our blood. Scorched dark earth is what's left in our blood. Scorched dark earth is what's left in our blood. Scorched dark earth is what's left in our blood. White furry animals come to take us away. White furry animals come to take